Everyone, I will call this Regional Transportation Commission meeting to order. It is 9 a.m. We will start with a roll call. Madam Clerk.
Sajid Solaria,
Here.
Ed Lawson, Alexis Hill,
Here.
Bill Thomas, Mari Luz Garcia,
Here.
Adam Spear.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And now if you will please join us for a Pledge of Allegiance, and if we can have Mr. Mayor lead us in the pledge.
Yeah, please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So far down there.
I know. Thank you very much. We'll now move into public comment. Item number 2. Do we have any public comment, Madam Clerk?
Yes, we have one public comment from Mac Rossi.
Welcome.
Good morning, all. My name is Mac Rossi, resident of Reno. Is Devin on Zoom or is he here at all?
Madam Clerk, he didn't.
He's absent.
Yes, he's not here today.
Good morning. I'm here to attend. I've been here to attend many meetings addressing two projects that I've been working on for many years. I'm here to thank you folks for the help that was. Oh, okay. Thank you. Start again, or you already hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, thank you. Two of the projects that are just in the stage of completion. One, the traffic light on North McCarran Boulevard and Keystone Leadership to be completed shortly. Thanks to you, RTC. From about 800 apartment residents that drive about 1,000 vehicles to leave their development each day by only having to turn right on McCarran. Thank you from the vehicles that are jumping the middle island coming up Keystone to get on to go left on McCarran. And thank you to the Reno Police Department for slowing the traffic down because of the signal that will be installed there. That project started as a committee of 2 and ended up with a committee of 1 9 years ago. Another project that's in the final completion is the bus stop on 7th Street and North McCarran, moving out of the right-hand turn lane, making an ADA approval, installing a crosswalk on 7th Street to make it easier for seniors at the facility across the way to be able to cross 7th Street safely. The project is in the final completion. This project started with 3 members 6 years ago, and now a committee of 1. Neither of these projects would have been completed without the help of RTC's direction in working with the City of Reno and NDOT. Thank you, RTC. I'd also like to thank RTC and your staff member, Susie Trinidad, for supplying a bus yesterday to take a busload of seniors from Reno to Carson City to attend Senior Day at the legislature. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We rarely get thank yous. And
You don't have to kick me around anymore.
thank you for your advocacy.
Thank
We
you.
can't do what we do without you. Thank you, Mr. Rossi. All right, we'll now move into the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes by staff on the agenda? None? Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
So move.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Thank you, Commissioner Lawson. Any questions on that motion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And that motion is approved unanimously. We'll now move into our consent items. Do any commissioners want to pull a consent item? Have any questions? I'm not seeing any. All right, I'm looking for a motion on consent.
So move.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Garcia. Thank you very much, Commissioner Lawson. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. All right, that motion passes unanimously. We'll now move into item 5, our discussion items and presentations. 5.1, Mr. Thomas. Welcome. And this is for approval of the FY 26-27 Unified Planning Work Program.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Vanessa Lacer, RTC Planning Director, and I'll be overviewing our draft Unified Planning Work Program for fiscal year 26 and 27. The full document is in your agenda packet today with a summary, task, and budget page on page 27 of that document for your reference. So I'll step through a brief presentation, and then, of course, we will be seeking approval today. So I'll give just a refresher. I'll describe what is this document, what is its purpose, step through some of the contents, kind of get full circle and describe the relationship of this document to project implementation, and then leave you with some next steps. So first, what is this document? It is a core document of the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which serves as the planning department for the RTC. Similar to our Regional Transportation Plan or our RTIP, our Regional Transportation Improvement Program, it is a core document that we produce as the MPO. It is our 2-year work plan. So we update it every 2 years, and it's quite detailed. It identifies all the planning activities and services that we will be providing to the region over the next 2 years, including task timelines and a budget for each task. So why is this necessary? First and foremost, because it is a requirement. It is a federal requirement, again, as part of our work as the MPO. It is also a state requirement. In the state of Nevada, federal funding for MPOs pass through the state, and so the state requires that we have this document as well. And then third, it is actually the method through which we receive federal funding. So how does that happen? We request quarterly reimbursements from Nevada Department of Transportation based on the accomplishment of the tasks as listed in this document. So for instance, we would request if we've completed 25% of a task, we would request 25% of the budget associated with that task. So here are the tasks that are included in this document. There's 6 broad task categories with many activities falling underneath. These are really the nuts and bolts of what an MPO does in the region, and is very similar to every other MPO in the country. Just as a quick example, for instance, under a broad task of administration, we would be doing kind of our day-to-day work, preparing memos, facilitating committees, that sort of thing. So I want to dig in a little bit into how those tasks are distributed in relationship to our budget. And our anticipated funding over the next 2 years is approximately $5.9 million. That does include $1.2 million in grant funds that we were awarded, and that is about 95% federal. So about 5% local match pencils out to around $500,000 as our local contribution to this budget. And you see here on the left the tasks listed out, and then on the right, of course, is the graph. So administration, we've allocated 9% of the budget to that. Development review at 1%. We have, let's see, the multimodal planning and programming task is at 65%, so the largest share. We then have, of course, street and highway planning at 17%. That's a lot of our modeling work, traffic forecasting. Public transportation planning at 7%. We have the TOPS plan coming up. And then air quality planning at 1%. That is required work that we do. So I'll dig in a little bit into that largest category, the 65% of our budget, the multimodal planning and programming bucket. And we have anticipated funding of about $3.8 million for that task. Again, that includes that $1.2 million in planning grant funding. So we have on the left there the task and then all the subtasks associated. So first we have our Regional Transportation Improvement Program, or RTIP. We have 1% of the budget allocated to that. That's our implementation document. We then have the Regional Transportation Plan, which this board just approved in February. We have 7% allocated toward that because, believe it or not, in this 2-year cycle, we will begin planning for the next round of the RTP. We have the congestion management process, allocated 3% of the budget to that. That is a required plan that is coming due in this 2-year cycle. Public participation plan development at 1%, again, a required plan that is needing a refresh in this 2-year cycle. Community involvement planning at 1%, that is on top of all of our engagement efforts that we do for standalone plans. So in addition to that, that 1%. We have corridor and area planning at 34%, and I'll get into that more on the next slide. Safety planning at 39%. That is one plan. That is the $1.2 million plus our local match to do the safety action plan for the region. So that represents one plan. And then finally, active transportation program at 15%. You will receive a presentation on that today, so I won't get into that too much, but basically that represents 2 neighborhood network plans per year, so a total of 4. So here we have the list of corridor and area plans. Remember, this is 34% of our multimodal planning bucket. You'll see 7 plans here. 6 of these were identified through a call for planning proposals, which was opened January of this year. We received a total of 8 proposals, 4 from the city of Sparks and 4 from the city of Reno. We identified staff capacity and budget capacity to proceed with 6 of those 8 proposals. You'll see that they have priority rankings on this list. We asked the jurisdictions to provide their priority ranking if they were to submit numerous proposals. And so we were able to choose the top 3 from each jurisdiction. The 7th plan you see there is the Truckee River Path plan that this board directed us to proceed with, and we will have a draft for you by the end of 26. We'll also have a presentation on the work we've done so far with the inventory report for you in June. And so finally, I want to talk about how the UPWP links up with the rest of the work that we do and informs project implementation. So this at the top of this circle here, of course, is the UPWP. All of that list you just saw of corridor and area studies, all of those plans will produce recommendations for projects. And projects can go one of 2 ways. In the case of the neighborhood network plans, they're going to feed into the active transportation program. So we'll be identifying quick build projects through those neighborhood network plans that will be implemented through the active transportation program. We'll also be identifying larger scale projects through those neighborhood network plans that will move through the RTP process. So they'll be prioritized through the RTP process and funding potentially identified through that process. Once we have funding identified for projects and they've been prioritized, we've identified what's moving forward, they'll flow into our RTIP, or our Regional Transportation Improvement Program. That's our implementation document. Once they're in that document, that's a 5-year look. We can then begin with ICAs, those are every 2 years, or interlocal agreements. And so those are basically agreements where we have permission to construct from the jurisdictions. Once we have that permission, we're able to identify funds in our annual budget to build the project, and then we're able to proceed with scheduling and building the project. Once that project is complete, the cycle starts again. What issues or problems exist in the community now? Did the problems, was the problem solved? And if not, what else do we need to study to get the problem solved? So next steps with this document, last week we provided this presentation to our Citizens Multimodal Advisory Committee and our Technical Advisory Committee. They had some questions which we were able to answer. The summary of those discussions is in your board packet as the committee advisory summary. They had no objections to the report and really just wanted some clarification on a few points. And then, of course, today we are here seeking approval for this document. Once we have RTC board approval, we're able to submit this document to Nevada Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration, and Federal Transit Administration for their approval. Once we have approval from those bodies, we can then begin our FY26, FY27 tasks, and we expect that to occur on July 1. Happy to answer questions if there are some.
Thank you, Ms. Lancer. I will go to Commissioner Garcia.
No questions. Great presentation. And I just wanted to say the implementation slide where you had the kind of the flow chart, that was a helpful reminder that there is a little bit of a fork in the road between the RTP and the AT program. So that was just a good reminder. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mayor Lawson? Okay. Well, I also agree. I think you've done a great work with our partners at Reno and Sparks. As I have expressed to you, I'm disappointed Washoe County didn't submit any projects, but I'm really excited we're moving on that Truckee River path. And I think that's a regional project, but also looking at these spots that Sparks and Reno have identified, they really need some love. And I'm hoping we can get Holcomb Lane potentially on a future project list because we've heard from so many constituents that feel like there's real safety issues there when they're cycling. So we'll continue to see how we can make sure that Washoe County engages in this process. And I'm impressed by your work. So with that, we are looking for a motion. Okay, looking for a motion.
Move to approve?
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Thank you, Mayor Lawson. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. That motion passes unanimously. We'll now move into 5.2. This is a presentation on the status of Central Reno and Central Sparks Neighborhood Network plans. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Marquise Williams, Senior Transportation Planner here with RTC. I do have slides. Oh, here we go. So yeah, I'm here to give a brief presentation and a status update on the neighborhood network plans that we started in October of last year. So a little bit of background. You may recall we approved the active transportation plan. This board approved it in September of 2024, which led to the creation of the active transportation program. The goal, the overarching goal of that program is to increase trips on foot and cycling trips within the region. So we broke that into 4 main goals: improve safety, expand mode share, maintain the system sustainably, and enhance the community. And the way that we're going about implementing those is through the neighborhood network planning strategy. That active transportation plan also gave us metrics like the gap analysis, bike level of traffic stress, and the pedestrian experience index. The idea with those is that we have data driven decision-making processes and tools. And the ATP also led to the formation of the Active Transportation Technical Advisory Committee, or the ATTAC. That's a body, a technical advisory committee of local jurisdictional members and also representatives from the school district and Northern Nevada Public Health. So just to make sure that what we're doing is in line with jurisdiction priorities.
I love the name, Attack.
I do too.
Yeah,
That was
it's a
very
fun name. We were working on the acronym there. So neighborhood network planning, the strategy of neighborhood network planning is that typically when people are taking a trip by bike or on foot, they're not doing these regional trips. So they're not going from Spanish Springs to downtown Reno. They're really doing more neighborhood level trips. So from home to the grocery store, from work to school to home, to the library, et cetera. So we really wanted to make sure that that's how we strategized and planned our active transportation network. With that in mind, we broke the region into 12 neighborhoods, as you can see on the map to the left. And in each neighborhood, we want to increase mode share by improving comfort and safety. And we also want to focus on a complete neighborhood. So the idea there is that instead of having a really well-improved corridor, we want to instead have a network of good corridors so people can really get from point A to point B on a comfortable facility. So these neighborhood plans are broken into 2 parts. We have the first part is the short-term quick build portion. So these are shorter term projects, lower cost with a 1 to 2 year implementation timeline. The lower cost and the quick build nature of them really allows for us to do performance tracking and data collection to decide whether we want to change the project, make it permanent, or take it out completely and rethink and start from scratch. The second part of the neighborhood network plans would be these long-term, more traditional, high dollar value, more permanent projects. And those would be for regional transportation plan consideration. So before we go on, I just wanted to give some examples of what these treatments might look like. First, these are neighborhood byway treatments. So a neighborhood byway is really just a traffic calmed street. So these are streets where we're not adding bike facilities, but we are just making traffic, giving visual cues and different cues to slow folks down when they're on the road, and really giving cues that this is a neighborhood street. So in the top left and then the top middle, these are both crossing treatments. You have a bulb out and a pedestrian island. These reduce the crossing time and crossing distance for pedestrians and give them less time in the vehicle travel lanes. In the top right, you have a traffic circle. This is like a smaller roundabout. And you can see this one's out of Long Beach, and they actually made it with quick build materials. So a few trees in planters as well as posts. In the bottom left, this is a really simple treatment. You put signs in the middle of the road. It's a slow streets campaign, and that just works to slow folks down and gives visual signals to navigate with caution. And in the bottom right, this is a pedestrian plaza. Now, obviously, RTC wouldn't be putting on a farmer's market, but we can work to identify opportunities to close down streets and reuse that space as appropriate. So similarly with protected bike facilities, we have some examples here of separation strategies. So in the top left, you have crash-resistant posts. In the middle, you have precast concrete barriers. And then on the right, and top right, you have what they call armadillos. And then in the bottom left, that barrier, that's your more traditional traffic barricade. But this jurisdiction has done a public art campaign, and so they look a little prettier than just a basic standard white one. In the bottom center picture, this is an example of traffic calming with bike facilities. So you're able to use what was a red zone and demarcate that red zone for bike storage. And then in the bottom right, finally, you have a few examples of quick build here. So you have the striping. So you can clearly see on the road where the bike is supposed to go. That gives signals to both drivers and cyclists of designation of space. You also have the barrier, which is a planter. So that's another quick build barrier. And then you have the signage on the right that really makes it feel like a network. It's the neighborhood byway signage. So back to our local neighborhood plans. We've started the neighborhood plans for Central Sparks and Central Reno. And in each, we've finished the outreach process. In each neighborhood, we had 3 in-person meetings, one led by RTC, and then 2 pop-up events where we tagged on to other community events. We had an online survey map for each neighborhood. So on the right, you can see the Central Reno online survey map. They had a pretty good response, and we had about 325 people participate on that map, so it was a good turnout. And then we also did a steering committee. We've had several steering committee meetings in each neighborhood, and that's our on-the-ground representatives, so folks from Public Works, police, fire, Safe Routes to School, school district, local business owners, members of the public, and RTC staff. So in the Central Reno plan, we are a little further along just because we started it first, and we have moved on to the conceptual design phase. So our consultant was tasked with producing 3 scenarios, and those are basically alternatives, different ways to approach that complete network. We took those 3 scenarios to our steering committee for each neighborhood, or for the Central Reno neighborhood, and worked with them to come up with one combined scenario that pulled in factors from each of the 3 scenarios. And we're currently in review with city staff from the city of Reno on how to best move forward with that combined scenario. So the challenges that we were facing with these plans so far, they mostly come from finding that balance between priorities on a roadway. That really comes into focus with roadway widths. So, if you want to have protected bike facilities, it often comes at the cost of another amenity, excuse me, another amenity like on-street parking or vehicle travel lanes. So really finding that balance and that prioritization for what a particular street or road is trying to do.
But the parking's temporary when we remove it, right?
If
It's an
that,
it's an experiment.
sure, correct, yeah, if that's the direction. But there's in commercial spaces or in residential spaces, it can be kind of challenging to take the parking spot of someone who's been there. So, yeah, it's a balance. And similarly, maintenance. You can see on the bottom right here, we have the little bike lane sweeper. We recognize that does take extra staffing time and extra capital to maintain that vehicle. But having those protected bike lanes is the trade-off. You get a better product and a more comfortable, safe product by having that extra layer of protection. So it's all about balance. So next steps, we're here presenting this update today, and we're hoping to come back with the Central Reno plan in June for a presentation, and then July approval on consent. Similarly, the Central Sparks neighborhood plan would be an August presentation for a September approval. And if we stick to our deadlines and, hit all our checkpoints, we are tentatively scheduled for 2026 implementation of the quick builds. So with that, happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. We're going to call Mayor Sheevy because she is able to join via phone. So we'll just take a quick pause if commissioners can hold their questions, and we'll come back to you, Mr. Williams.
Sorry, but your call cannot be completed.
Conferencing. Please enter your access code followed by the pound. Access code accepted. You are the only participant in this conference.
Welcome.
Hi.
We are
Thank you so
on,
much.
I'm sorry?
Apologize.
No
I
worries.
apologize.
We are on item 5.2. We just received a very good presentation from Mr. Williams on the Central Reno and Central Sparks Neighborhood Network Plan. So with that, I'm going to have,
Great. Well on you too. Thank
oh, good. I'm going to have commissioners give me their questions. So Commissioner Garcia, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I really appreciated the photo examples of the quick build projects. That was very helpful today. And I don't know if this is a question for you or our director here, but as these projects come before City Reno, City Sparks, or Washoe County, how can we best support you, RTC staff, in the efforts when it comes to that point? Because you've done the outreach, you've gathered the data, you've come up with scenarios, and then as we know, things can change very drastically on the day that the presentation happens. So it'd be helpful for us to know how we could help advocate for this.
Mr. Thomas.
Very good question, and always a challenge as we work through these projects. I think the thing I want to assure all of you of is we will make sure there's plenty of outreach to the public so they're aware. I think probably just sitting here today, the best thing would be, to the extent we can manage it in your schedules, it would be helpful to have perhaps board members, RTC board members who aren't from the jurisdiction, because obviously each jurisdiction has a representative, but it would help us accentuate the regional value of doing this, because as we all know, these can really be brought to a halt or basically stopped if there's a very small scale issue that is hot in the heat of the conversation. So we'll look into if there's better ways, but I think that would be one just this morning that I would suggest to you. Okay. Is if you can actually physically be there if we have a public meeting where we're talking about the specific implementation.
And I would just add on, thank you for that recommendation, but since these are kind of new concepts for many of us, I hadn't seen many of these designs even as I travel. I think even briefings would be helpful with the different elected officials so that they're kind of front-loaded with, hey, this is what other jurisdictions are doing throughout the nation. Here's what we're pitching. Do you like it? Thanks.
And Mayor Lawson?
It is amazing when I travel that I look for all these things now. You know, Denver has a great bicycle system in downtown. But I want to put on your radar is access for Sparks residents to the river. That is probably the biggest thing. Right now, we only have Sparks Boulevard that accesses the river, unless you want to take your life in your hands to travel down McCarran, which 40 big 18-wheelers, you know, within 3 feet of you is not very comfortable, especially if you have young kids with you.
Yeah.
So that, I just want to see if we can find a way to get across I-80 to get to the river.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had a Sparks steering committee last week, and that was a big issue. So we're
Perfect.
we have some ideas in mind.
Thank you.
Great. Mayor Sheevy, do you have anything?
No, I don't, but I really love the presentation, and I love where you're going with it. It's super helpful, and the designs are very forward-thinking. It is true what Ed said. You go to other cities, and you start to say, okay, well, why don't we have that, or why, you know, you're surprised to just see different things, and so I love this. So thank you so much. I think great job.
And not to give our communications team more work, but with the July approval, when will we implement?
So tentatively, we're looking at May 26 to start that
26.
construction.
Okay, I got all excited it would happen this year, but
It's what I understand. I'm learning a bit about construction now as well, more so than just planning, but it's weather dependent. So in order for the paint and the adhesives to work properly, we'll
it can't be too hot.
too cold, I think is
Okay.
the concern.
Well, if it is approved in July, I don't know. So then we have to go out to bid to do it, and yeah. I was just thinking we should do a bike ride on both of these and do it as an event, because I think what I've found is, you want to be careful when you're balancing getting rid of parking, but also businesses have no idea how much more visitation they will receive if it's safer to walk and bike to their business. And so I think it would be great if we did some demonstration projects around these, so we can show the value and ask them to take a little risk with us. It's temporary. So I think, I hate to push back on specifically just hearing, how much further you are along with Reno and the hesitation with the parking. I think figuring out how we can kind of have those discussions and, ask folks to give us a chance. And, we'll also help them spread the word that these are safe corridors and it's something that we want people to really try with their families. So I will support you with that. And so, Mr. Thomas, let us know how we can help with that. And I can't wait to see how you're going to do Central Sparks.
Great. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Education and outreach is a goal of our, or a priority of our active transportation plan and program. So we have some things in the making as well.
Great. Wonderful. Any other board comments before we go to the next item? Not hearing any. Thank you. Great work. We'll now move on to item 5.3, approve the classification plan and comp schedule for fiscal year 26, including revised pay for performance program. Welcome.
Good morning, Laura Freed for the record. Agenda item 5.3 represents kind of the wrap up of the classification and compensation study that was started by the agency a little bit over a year ago. Just as a recap for you on the slide, what we've done so far, presented the consultant's report back in November, and then in February, the board approved market adjustments for 9 positions. And in doing so, our supervisory compaction issues were resolved, and Fair Labor Standards Act designations were corrected for 2 positions, and that's reflected in the packet of job descriptions that you have in today's agenda. So the request for approval from the board today is to approve both a new classification plan, and that entails refreshed job position descriptions, and we went from 65 job descriptions. We eliminated a couple of old vacant titles and duplicative titles from the class system, refreshed the job descriptions. And when I say refreshed, what I mean is it was a rather long process of the executive director, myself, and department directors going through all the job descriptions in all the departments and saying, okay, does this still make sense? Is there old technology that needs to be eliminated from the job description? How's the grammar and syntax? That's a personal thing for me. And, they've all been they've been shared with the staff. This was all put up on our internal SharePoint before this, and of course, they've been socialized too. The next thing is approve a compensation plan pursuant to the personnel rules. The pay scales for both exempt and non-exempt employees for FY26 will have 18% added to the top end to allow for salary growth as people gain longevity with the agency. And finally, to approve the policy, not the money, because I'll leave that to the CFO, for a cost of living adjustment and pay for performance. And cost of living adjustment is to be based on Western CPI data for the month of March, and the pay for performance is based on an annual recommendation by the executive director. And as I just mentioned, you'll see this in the final budget when the board considers that in May. So the cost of this, to the extent that it's implicit in the salary and fringe that's already been budgeted. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, great timing on making sure that it aligned with the budget, and you did this very quickly, so kudos. Commissioner Garcia? No. Mayor Lawson? Mayor Sheevy?
No.
Okay. Well, with that, it looks for, like, we have an action item on this to approve the compensation plan and schedule. Looking for a motion. Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Thank you, Mayor Lawson. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Great work. All right, we'll now go into the review and a report from RTC Director of Finance regarding fiscal year 26 index fuel taxes in Washoe County that become effective on July 1st, 2025, as required by NRS 373-067 and Washoe County Code 20.43416. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Hill. Christian Schellnoff, for the record, Director of Finance and CFO for RTC. It's almost as difficult to calculate as it is to say, so thank you. We bring this item to you every year as a matter of presentation to the public and to the board for knowledge of what we're doing with our indexing. I'll remind everyone that there is no decision-making by RTC in the rates that come out of this process. They're statutory formulas, and we just apply them to current rates. So with that said, I'll kind of go on the background of how we develop those in my next few slides. So we use the rolling average of 10 years PPI data, or producer price index data, from the western states, which most closely matches our cost of construction in the region. We use a 10-year average to avoid shocks to our rate. If you'll notice, in 2021 and 2022, we had near 20% inflationary impacts. Those were smoothed over time to keep our indexing at that period around 4%. Last year's rate was 3.98%. Similarly, this year we're at 3.96%. So the formula is working. Over time, we averaged between 3 and 4% inflation on consumer prices, and that tends to be where our range is. Over the last 10 years, we use the calendar year PPI data to come up with a fiscal year indexing rate. This is a reflection of those rates since 2015. They can get very low, 1.3%. We're statutorily capped at 7.8%, but generally we fall right in the middle of those two items. And with that, I will take any questions. I know it's brief. The entire workup of the calculation is in your board agenda packet if you care to read through it.
Thank you very much, Mayor Lawson.
So this is probably the most controversial thing we do all year.
Yep.
And there's all kinds of wild rumors about what this actually means. How much is it per gallon increase?
So it's 3.45 cents per gallon.
It's 3.45 cents.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and I just want to make a comment too, that this results in a correction for inflationary cost and fuel tax in our region. There are other forces on fuel tax that are negative to RTC and all the local jurisdictions, specifically electric vehicles and other high efficiency vehicles don't pay the same taxes that this was set on years ago. So what we're seeing is actually a flattening in gallons sold across Washoe County and an expected decline in gallons. So yes, we're making up for the increased cost of production, but we're not making up in any way for the loss in revenue from gallons sold.
And it drives me nuts to watch prime electric vehicles running on our roads every day for free.
Well, I think this board may do something about that. I think that there's some talk about potential action we'll take next ballot.
So I will also just comment that we have an ongoing study with the Gwynn Center that's anticipated to conclude next month.
Great.
Be presented before the end of the fiscal year on some potential policy solutions or alternatives to our current structure.
Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner Shivi.
No, thanks.
And I think we just need to remind people about what RTC contributes to the community, not only in our roads. I was just in New Orleans, and boy, do we not know what potholes are. We are so blessed to have RTC, and that we were forward thinking with the fuel tax indexing and talking about those are jobs for community members. RTC is a huge driver of ensuring that working members of our community can get jobs through our contracts, and that we also have really great roadways. So I think we need to figure out ways to celebrate that and remind people about how important this funding is for us and the community. And I think folks don't realize how good we have it. I really suggest people check out New Orleans. They have children's books based on potholes because it's such a thing there. So anyway, I appreciate the work, and I think we can do a better job of celebrating our wins too.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. You did steal my thunder a little bit. That is my ending slide of the budget.
Okay.
So we'll talk about a little bit about jobs
I'm
creation.
sorry to
in our
do that.
community. So thank you.
Yes, and then no action on this one, right? Just a review.
Chair Hill, this requires no action.
Okay, thank you.
0.4 cents.
Yes,
Correct.
remember that 3.4 cents per gallon. And everyone's cars are getting more and more fuel efficient as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll now go into 5.5. This is a receipt of the fiscal year 26 RTC tentative budget.
Thank you. Again, Christian Schoenlaw for the record. There's no coincidence to the order of operations here today. Not only do your past decisions, but even today's decisions roll into the annual operating budget for RTC. A little bit of background on the timeline and development of this functionally. RTC staff starts working on the budget back in January. It's a several months long process for us. We don't receive revenue projections from Department of Taxation until the end of March, and we have a statutory requirement to submit this budget by April 15th. So that's challenging, but I will tell you, we did meet that requirement. You're seeing this after the fact. I want you to know that you can have input on our budget, and that'll be reflected in the final budget, that this is truly just a presentation on what went into those efforts. There's no significant cutting to our budget or anything that's new and different per se. So with that framework, I'll go ahead and dive in. I'd also say that you have a line item budget in your packet, which defines everything that we're spending our money on. And I missed the opportunity to write armadillo in that for you. So recently we approved the RTP, that's your 20-year look, and that includes all the projects in our community that we plan to do in the future. We've had several iterations of the RTIP come to you that you've approved, which is our shorter range plan of project implementation. A couple of meetings ago, you approved the ICAs, which is the local jurisdiction agreements to go ahead and construct projects. And then today, we're presenting you the annual capital and operating budget, which allows us to effectuate those decisions that you've made in the past in the current year. So our budget process was slightly different this year. We generally had started with a director retreat, then the board retreat. We did the board retreat first back in March. You gave us several recommendations which have been included in the budget. I'll call out a few specifics. There's the continuation of grant efforts and design on the Sun Valley Boulevard corridor. We've added some funding for 88 bus stop improvements, came from those conversations. We've included the active transportation plan funding, which leads into the MPO's UPWP, which you just heard about from Director Lacer. And then also aware of some current legislative efforts, we've added some funding for potential outcomes related to driver operations, bills that are going through the legislature currently. We then had our directors retreat. We digested the items you gave us, talked about operational issues internally and some of the outcomes we might desire there. We all kind of came to consensus that we are missing a management analyst role in the organization that can help us bring forward some more forward-thinking processes departmentally and across the board. So we've added one FTE to this year's budget. That is our only addition personnel-wise. Again, we submitted the Department of Taxation budget on time on April 15th. I'm here for you today to provide any input on the package you've received in my presentation. We'll go back, we'll rework the numbers if there's any need there, and then we'll bring back the final budget for your approval May 29th. That will be an action item. and then we will submit that to the Department of Taxation by the end of May for us to begin our operations in the final year. The large piece of our budget this year and almost every year is fuel tax. 40% of our revenues come from that fuel tax rate related to the indexing we just talked about. 15% comes from sales tax, which funds both roadway and transit projects. Federal funding also is a mix, and a large portion of our budget, almost 36%, provides funding for capital projects on the street and highway side, and also for our capital improvements on the transit side. Our RIF fees, or our regional road impact fees, are fees from developers for their impacts to our roadways by development. We get a small revenue source from passenger fares in terms of our operations. There is some pass-through money from NDOT. We've done well on investing our funds, and then we have some miscellaneous revenues that come in as well through reimbursement agreements and such. Our outlays are almost 90% capital. Our operations and staff costs are very minimal in the scheme of our budget. Capacity and improvement projects, $125 million. We group preservation and multimodal projects together just as a result of display with taxation. That's $54 million. We're investing in capital for both the ride operations, our fixed route, and our paratransit operations to the tune of almost $60 million this year. I'll talk a little bit about the projects that lie under this in a minute. Our MPO operations relate to the UPWP that was just presented to you. And then our paratransit and ride operating costs are our cost of contractors. And I always like to remember that we have debt service every year to the tune of about $23 million, about $280 million of outstanding debt through 2043 to be paid. So some projects we want to highlight in the upcoming year. The top three represent about $75 million in capital projects for street and highway program. The Arlington Avenue Bridges construction will start next month. Between federal grants and local funding, that project construction cost is slightly over $30 million. Mill Street started last week. Construction costs there are around $15 million. And then our large undertaking, which is primarily federally funded in Sparks, is the Sparks Boulevard construction, about $30 million this year, $60 million total there. Public Transit's pretty excited to finish their hydrogen fueling station. We have temporary fueling there now. This will be a permanent facility to fuel the additional buses that we are going to get. We currently have 2. There's 6 more on their way. We're also replacing 10 of our aging fleet with more hybrid electric vehicles. We are finishing the Virginia Street BRT expansion, which is a result of the Midtown improvements leftover funding from several years ago. The FTA has allowed us to repurpose those funds for southern expansions towards towards the Atlantis. We are wrapping up the TRIC study, which is the connector of rail between Reno and the Tahoe Regional Industrial Center. Vanessa mentioned earlier that we have our Safe Streets for All planning study kicking off. That's on its way. And then also mentioned earlier by Marquise is our neighborhood plans and our active transportation plan. So there's just some high-level highlights. If you really want to get in the weeds, it's in your packet, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Oh, sorry. I'll give you a little assessment and my thunder here. So as always, we presented a balanced budget. That's a requirement. If we don't do that, I'm not doing my job very well. We do expect some sales tax decline this year, and I think everyone at the dais is aware of that. With that in mind, we set off for a flat operating budget as kind of our budgeting philosophy this year. Obviously, there's personnel costs that are increasing, but there's other operating costs that we do have control of, and went in and made sure none of those were increasing. We showed a slight decrease, but are still able to operate well. I mentioned earlier that the gallons of fuel sold are projected to be flat, but the indexing will offset some of that revenue. Regionally, we're still experiencing population growth, low unemployment, both very positive factors for the region. We remain a lean organization. Just adding 1 FTE brings us to 76 FTEs. And then creating jobs. Last year, we created over 2,750 jobs on our construction projects. And we invest this year over $230 million in new capital investments into our community. So we do have a big impact on both job creation and capital improvement in the region. Now, questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you. I have a question about the federal funding revenues that are coming in. At this time, out of the $104.5 million revenues, are any of those at risk for being clawed back, paused, terminated? Are we in the middle of planning or construction that you're aware of?
So there's uncertainty at the federal level. I think for all grant programs, I will say the majority of the federal funding that we are implementing are formula funds that have already been received by RTC and are able to be spent immediately. We do have some pending grant applications, but none of them have been flagged as at risk. I'm fairly confident in being able to receive all the funding, but there is always that uncertainty. RTC builds a fund balance for a reason. We carry forward money from year to year for uncertainty and for big projects. So in the instance that federal funding is not available that we anticipated, we would have to backfill that with other revenue sources. Obviously, there's a trade-off down the road. We might not be able to implement as many projects in the future, but that would not stop us from doing what we're doing today.
Thank you. And Mayor Lawson? Mayor Sheeby?
Nothing, thanks.
Well, I think that all local governments are very jealous that we can take care of ourselves at RTC because of our four mothers and fathers who built in many of these revenue sources that increase over time. So hopefully we can do the same as a board. But I really appreciate your work on this, and it sounds like there are no additional questions from the board, so I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move to approve the tentative budget as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Second. Thank you, Mayor Lawson. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you
very much. We'll now move into our reports. 6.1, this is an update from RTC Executive Director Bill Thomas.
Thank you, Chair Hill. Got a lot of good news to share with you today, so I appreciate your indulgence as I get through all of this. First thing I wanted to start with is starting this next Monday, we will have office hours for this building from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And this is the first time we're able to do that since the pandemic. The reason we're able to do that is because we made some strategic changes in how we function. Both at 4th Street Station and Centennial Plaza, we now have 24/7 operative kiosks that provide immediate assistance to any of our customers at those two transfer stations. In addition, we have a line that they can talk to the employees who've been moved from those two facilities here to our terminal facility. And so we think it enhances service by having essentially, if you will, a call center. It allows the three customer service reps to be together and work together to be more efficient in assisting our customers. So big change for us, and one that I think will save time and add convenience for our customers.
Very cool.
I'm also happy to announce that our fixed drop buses, every one of them now have protective barriers for our drivers. As we all know, there was an incident several months ago that was very unfortunate and very traumatic as a result of the fact that we had to use an older bus that didn't have some of the newer equipment. So I want to thank specifically the employees of Keolis, because they were the ones that pulled this off. It took a very long time to get the parts, but Mark Bradshaw and his service tech team at Keolis, they were able to install on over 38 buses all of these barriers within 7 days. And so we now have a very safe fleet, and every one of our buses now has a driver barrier so that that protects the driver from any altercations that may happen with an unruly customer. I specifically want to again thank Keolis, Mark Schlater from our facilities and maintenance department, as well as the FM crew that worked on it. Again, very proud that they were able to do all this work in 7 days, and I did share this with the legislator who had proposed a bill that would require this to happen, and let her know that we've already done it.
Nice.
The RTC is expanding our partnership with the Washoe County Libraries. The libraries distribute a flyer that outlines the routes that serve them at no cost. Moving forward, we'll place library signage in our transit vehicles and facilities to highlight the availability of their e-book platform, Libby. This is a free app that only requires a library card to use. The library will design and produce the vehicle signs in both English and Spanish, and RTC will produce the facility signage. The RTC and our agency partners recently received 2 project awards that I wanted to share. The RTC, NCE, and Granite Construction won the Transportation Project of the Year Award from the American Society of Civil Engineers Truckee Meadows branch for the Audie Wells project. In addition, the Sparks Intelligent Corridor won the Transportation Achievement Award in the TISMO category from the Institute of Traffic Engineers, thanks to the partnership, in this case, with Kim Lee Horn and UNR. So I do want to share that both of these awards were possible not only because of the staff, hardworking staff here, the consultants that we work very closely with, but also the local government staffs. Each of these projects require cooperation and assistance from the local government. I think in both cases, City of Sparks, City of Reno did a great job in working with us to accomplish these great projects. We are very proud to have sponsored the Latino Lobby Day at Nevada Legislature a few weeks ago. Commissioner Garcia and RTC provided a bus from Reno to Carson City for people to participate in the democratic process. We're very happy to note the bus was full and that we could provide this service. More than 200 people attended the event at the Legislative Building, and I understand it was standing room only with the Secretary of State's office. So very proud that we were able to assist with that. And that Commissioner Garcia helped direct us to be in a place to help the community. In addition, yesterday was Senior Day, as Mac Rossi acknowledged. At the legislature, we provided transportation to and from Carson City as part of our mobility training program. We had over 35 seniors sign up and take the trip. We're very happy to help out, and I know our team is, particularly Susie and all the work she did in making that happen, with the transportation of people to the legislature to give them a chance to engage in government, which I know is important to this board. Once again, the RTC will provide shuttle service to the Earth Day celebration at Idlewild Park. People can catch a ride to and from Washoe County Courthouse parking lot on South Virginia and Court Streets every 15 minutes from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. tomorrow. Fixed Route 16 will also drop you off at Idlewild Park. We will have a table set up at the event to educate people on some of the RTC transit services and programs in hopes that people will use the opportunity to learn how they can benefit from using our robust transit system. Our communication teams has been working with Celtis Ventures and Latinos de Nevada to increase ridership among Spanish-speaking residents. One way we're doing that is through social media videos. Our most recent video went live April 2nd and already has over 90,000 views. This is much higher than the industry standard, so we're very happy with the success of this important campaign and continues our success in moving into this space to communicate well with an important part of our community. Congratulations to Assistant Planner. I don't know that he's here. I think he was sick today. Is Alex here? Alex is here. Sorry, Alex. Alex is officially a graduate of the Class of 25 Emerging Leaders Program through the American Public Transportation Association. He graduated at the APTA Mobility Conference and International Bus Rodeo earlier this month. Alex was part of a regional team during this process, which included a project that focused on microtransit. This is quite an accomplishment, and we're very proud of the work Alex put into this achievement. It really does elevate him to a level that is really important to not only the community, but also RTC. So,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Speaking of staff, I'm also happy to introduce, hopefully here's Rick. Rick Parton. Rick, if you don't mind standing. Rick started his job as RTC's finance manager on April 7th. He spent the last 11 years in accounting roles with the City of Sparks, including his most recent job as a senior accountant. Rick has degrees in accounting and information systems from the University of Nevada, Reno, and he is finishing his master's degree in accounting. We are very confident in his knowledge and experience, and that he will be a great help to, particularly to Christian and to our whole team. So thank you for joining us, Rick. We're looking forward to you being a great part of our team. Now, here's the guy who's not here, because I think he's sick. I wanted to congratulate Omar Casildo on his RTC anniversary. Omar, who started as an intern, I believe, was actually employed a year ago as an accounting specialist. He has been doing a great job. He's turned into a full-time. He turned his job into a full-time job, or he's thrived over the past year, and he's become a very important, integral part of our finance team. And very proud to say, another example of a University of Nevada, Reno grad being integrated into our work team. So I'm very happy to congratulate him, and sorry he's not here to celebrate with us.
Well, and Mr. Thomas, your anniversary for RTC is I think this week of 5 years as well.
It is.
So congratulations to Bill, and let's give Bill a round of applause as well for his work for RTC.
Thank you. That was a fun 5 years, but it went very fast.
Yeah, I bet.
And thanks the board for your support and trust that you give to me, because I think it really, I try to do my best to share it with the employees. And I believe that collectively, at our level, me as the executive director, you as the board, and the team of employees here have been very successful in great part because of everybody, right? It is, one piece of the link is broken, it can break apart. So very, very proud of the team. So I want to, close out today with the acknowledgement of the MTM and Keolis Drivers of the Month. And actually, I'm going to do two, because if you recall, our last meeting was our retreat, so we didn't do this. So the MTM Employees of the Month for February and March are Monica Ramirez and Andy Briswalter. Monica has been with MTM for over a year. The passengers love her and says she does her job, the way she does her jobs gives her a sense of community involvement. She's also looking to being part of the training team. She loves watching sports as her hobby, including the Cleveland Browns and San Francisco Giants. Very interesting combination. Andy started driving trucks and farm equipment at the age of 10 on a ranch in Texas, so obviously he knows how to drive. We're very fortunate that he's been driving very safely for MTM for the last 15 years. He has a passion for helping people, loves to drive, and his passengers frequently compliment him. The Keolis Drivers of the Month for March and April are Robert Wendt and Earl Ray Grant. Robert has worked as a bus operator for Ride since January of 2024. His accomplishments in February consist of 95% on-time performance, 0 preventable accidents, and no customer complaints. Ray grew up in Stockton, California, and moved to Reno in 2003. He's been working as a bus operator for Ride since April of 2020. That date's familiar.
Yeah.
So over 5 years, his accomplishments in March consist of a 97% on-time performance, 0 preventable accidents, and no customer complaints. So I want to close by thanking those 4 people who are very important, obviously, to our success of our transit system. And that concludes my comments today.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments for Bill? Looking to the board. And Mayor Sheevy, do you have anything?
No, congrats, Bill. Can you believe 5 years, how fast it goes?
I can't.
Oh, my goodness. And Omar, congrats. That's awesome. Well,
Yes.
Anyway, congratulations, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Thomas. We'll now move on to our update from Mr. Paul Nelson, RTC Government Affairs Officer on federal matters related to RTC.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Paul Nelson, Government Affairs Officer for RTC. So we submitted our CDS and CPF requests last week and this week. We're asking for $6 million for, as you guys know, 3 projects within Washoe County, Reno and Sparks. We talked to the senators and the congressmen, and they're both on board with this. They like this new approach because it shows that we're working together as a region, and we're also not competing against each other for some of these important transportation goals. This kind of goes to what Commissioner Garcia asked Christian earlier. Secretary Duffy is calling for a review of all competitive grant awards since January 20th, 2021, so during the Biden administration. DOT is specifically looking at awards that include things like DEI, climate change, EVs and chargers, and projects that primarily focus on bicycle infrastructure. It'll determine if the grants advance on a case-by-case basis. Some of those will move ahead as is. Other ones could move forward with modifications. So we'll wait and see with those. This will impact any grant that hasn't been fully obligated. The House of Transportation and Infrastructure Committee is asking for ideas on how to change federal transit law by April 30th. That could include getting rid of the spare ratio rule or a much shorter NEPA checklist for bus shelters. Our DC consultants have compiled a list for us to review, and DOT is also looking for suggestions to cut or modify regulations by May 5th. The Highway and Transit Subcommittee held a hearing to evaluate the bipartisan infrastructure law's transit provisions. It's starting its 2026 Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill, and we have a list of priorities that we are providing for that. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Nelson? No. Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to 6.3, monthly update from NDOT, and thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, good morning. Just wanted to, something urgent came up this morning, and so Director Larkins couldn't be here, so I'm going to be filling in for her. So Sajid Solaria, Deputy Director, NDOT, provide an update on some of the highlights on some projects that we have. Again, first one I want to start off with is Pyramid Highway. After all of this winter hiatus, last year there was a new third lane was open and completed. Major construction we did between Queens and Los Altos Parkway. And this season, now we're after winter, we're going to start off launching last season of work of this construction on this project. And this season we are completing the final construction work north of Los Altos Parkway, including new paving, which could not be completed during the winter temperatures. So through this summer, the drivers will continue to see lane shifts, overnight lane reductions directly north of Los Altos Parkway. There will be speed limit reductions, temporary intersection and cross-street closures. When this project wraps up this summer, it will help provide additional traffic capacity and multimodal facility for motorists traveling through this corridor, and they will feel the difference for sure. But as always, I wanted to thank the RTC for their partnership in this current construction phase and the future Pyramid Highway improvements. So we are very proud of our partnership on this project. All right, the next one, it's Driver's Edge program. I believe this program has been out there for a while. This Driver Edge program is a strategic highway safety plan key area to support training and development of our young drivers. This program itself, it runs by the Department of Public Safety, Office of the Traffic Safety, and they receive much of the funding from federal government, Federal Highways Safety Improvement Program, and it's a core federal aid funded dedicated program reducing fatalities and serious injuries on Nevada roadways. This program provides it's 4.5 hours of training to the new drivers under the age of 21. I myself took my children to do that. I think it's really beneficial. I wish there were for adults as well, but we're working on it. Also, this kind of helps how to engage ABS brakes, how to control, what are the elements they cover, how to control skids, swerving, defensive driving training. NDOT is an active participant for this program. We provide water trucks to help simulate icy or hydroplaning condition for this training. Upcoming Driver Edge events are in Reno is July 24th to July 27th, and also in September, I think September 5th through September 7th. And that is held at the Regional Public Safety Training Center north of, I think it's the fire station there at the North Valleys. There's a lot of demand for this program, so if you're interested, your children or friends, just let them know to sign up. It's a really, really neat program. Next week, I'm going to talk about our work zone safety awareness. That is starting on April 21st to 25th. That's happening next week. There's an average of 1,500 crashes in Nevada work zone areas every year, and that's roughly about 3% of all crashes statewide. I mean, these percentages are, it's not large, but motorists driving unsafely in work zones have potential for injuries and death for the coworkers who are working on the project. So there's a currently bill in as well, this AB 402 on automatic enforcement in construction zones that we are tracking. Upcoming work zone safety educational campaigns are going on, also planned for this event, and AGC is doing a Respect the Cone campaign as well. Smart work zone signage will be displaying travel times through the work zone being tested at the US 395 North Valleys project. So again, please watch out for our construction workers on all the projects that in the region and statewide. A little bit of update on SR 28 multi-agency open house that is hosted by TTD, which is Tahoe Transportation District. NDOT will be there to provide information on our future projects to install parking and transit hubs on SR 28. The demand for parking on this corridor well exceeds the capacity there, or it's twice as the amount of available parking spots. On a peak visitation days, thousands of vehicles, they park on SR 28 shoulder, creating safety and access concern. TTD, their regional transportation planning agency and other agency will present planned roadway parkings, transit improvements, and that also plans the transit parking and recreation hub and aquatic invasive species inspection station at the south side of SR 28. That's directly across from the Spooner Lake State Park. And that project is tentatively scheduled to begin in 2026. So again, this is a public information open house. I want to cover this Freeway Service Patrol program here that is, I believe it's in effect since 1998. Some of the Freeway Service Patrol, last week our board approved an agreement to continue to provide this service. That is Freeway Service Patrol throughout the Reno, Sparks area, and also in Las Vegas area. That is 25% of all incidents delay are due to crashes. For every minute, it's a fact, every minute there's a freeway travel lane is blocked during the peak travel times. 4 minutes of travel delay results after the incident is cleared. So the likelihood of secondary crashes increases by 2.8% every minute. That is a primary incident remains as a hazard out there. So according to national average, 22% of all crashes are secondary and 18% are fatal. So it is purpose to mitigate traffic congestion in the heavily traveled sections of the metropolitan freeways to provide quick and safe instant clearances. It is a valuable service to the motorist, and NDOT just not just those for the Freeway Service Patrol, but it helps them directly as well. They clearly actively help clear incidents and help us help the motorists to be safe out there and clear the congestion related incidents throughout the freeway. So some of the facts that I wanted to kind of share mitigation and clearance time, they mitigated about almost 12,000 in 2024 mitigations in Reno Sparks area, Reno area. So this is kind of the data shows how important this is, and it helps us as well. They're technicians they are providing the service. They are certified in various fields such as hazmat safety, CPR, first aid, basic automatic repair, automotive repair, and traffic incident management. So again, these are some numbers. Again, I wanted to share, and I believe the survey out there, everybody thinks highly of that program, and we're happy to provide that service throughout the region. And this concludes my update. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none, hearing none. Okay. We will now move on to item 7, Commissioner announcements and updates. Mayor Lawson, do you have anything? Nope. Do you have anything, Commissioner Garcia? Commissioner or Mayor Sheeby?
No, thank you.
Okay. With that, we'll move into our final public comment for the day. Madam Clerk.
Yes, we have one public comment. Carlos Elizondo. Come on up.
Welcome, sir.
My name is Carlos Elizondo. It seems like every time I come here, it's complaints, huh? Well, the more you drive the bus, the more you drive, it seems like the more I see things. And you have signs out there that if you see something, say something. I see a lot of, bus driver corruption, they're in charge of fares, just click, go, healthy, click, healthy. Even if people is paying cash, if you got a ticket or something, it sounds more Yeah, but not even people are going to pay cash to say healthy. And when it comes to me, so that's why I'm bringing this up, because when it comes to me, even if I'm 1 penny short, they hold the bus there until I pay that penny. You believe it? They hold the bus until I pay the penny. So that's why, that's not right, We should be, paying, for the ride, And, yeah, another thing, if you're going to raise a fare, that's something that you got to look into. If you're letting people ride for free, and you want to raise a fare, that's not right. So everybody, for somebody, we're going to pay the same price. So, yeah, you should crack down on this, There's a lot of bus driver corruption out there. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. We'll look into that. No other public comment. Madam Clerk, okay.
No
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for a wonderful meeting. It's 10:22 and we are adjourned.